Yes.
All right. So,
Fantastic.
hi everyone. I'm Gavin. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of RADiCAL, and we have with us today Habib Zargarpour, who joined our advisory board. I want to say by now about a year ago. Don't quote me on this, but it feels like about a year now.
Yeah.
I'll go very quickly through the agenda. I really want to make this as entertaining as possible for all of you. We will try not to make you feel like you're in a marketing event. This is really about Habib, but we will, of course, talk a little bit about what Habib is also doing with us, and hopefully that will make sense. So that connection can be made between Habib's career and what we're doing at RADiCAL, because that's directly influenced by him. The plan is to talk to Habib about his career and some of the harder topics for about 30 minutes that arise today in the context of whatever the latest technology is. And we're drawing analogies back to the time when Habib started his career, and I want to say 90s. I think, is that fair?
Yeah, that'll date me, of course, but yes, that's true.
It inevitably will.
Yeah.
But how that analogizes maybe to what we're experiencing today. And then that will be about 30 minutes. And then we'll go into some of the features that Habib is developing with us at RADiCAL. That will be a very quick demo. It will be 20 minutes. Now, that demo is actually best experienced at the end. You can join in if you also have an account at RADiCAL. So if you can, please do this. It's free. Just go to radicalmotion.com and set up a free account, because you will then be invited into the demo, and that will give you much better fidelity. Now, throughout this webinar, I would ask that you ask questions. You will be able to throw them, I believe, into the chat or whatever it is, and somebody's looking at them. There are actually several people looking at them from RADiCAL, and we will try to answer them in real time. Alice will also be collecting those questions that we think are representative of sort of the broader audience and their questions. And then we'll highlight them and speak to Habib about those questions. And we'll be doing that maybe throughout. But there will be at least one or two chances throughout this next hour to do that. Okay. All right. So
Can't wait to see what everybody does when they jump in.
yeah, so I thought what I would do, Habib, is actually give a very quick demo, a summary of who you are for those of you who are not familiar, and then also show a little reel of some of the work that you've done. But excuse me, I feel like I'm monopolizing. So Habib, if you want to say hello to everyone.
No, it's great. I'm Habib Zargarpour. I'm a virtual production supervisor. I do a lot of real-time virtual cinematography, and I've been passionate about real-time and just having tools that filmmakers can use to easily get their stories out. And when I saw what RADiCAL was doing, that was it looked incredible to me. And then when they added Canvas, that was the beginning of what you'll see. You'll see why I'm excited about it. But it's basically a lot of cool new tools and toys.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for saying that. Okay, so let me just set you up a little bit with who Habib is. Forgive me for like reading off a bullet point list, because there's quite a bit, and I don't want to miss anything. Habib is a 2-time Academy Award nominee and BAFTA winner for his visual effects work on Twister and The Perfect Storm. He pioneered virtual production systems later used by Jon Favreau on The Jungle Book and by Steven Spielberg on Ready Player One. And amongst his film credits, we can mention a roll call of visual innovation release of Blade Runner 2049, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Star Trek, First Contact, and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So I hope I'm saying that right. But he's not only been active in film, he's also been active in game development. He was a senior art director on Need for Speed Underground and Need for Speed Most Wanted. He played a key role in defining the cinematic look of Rise, Son of Rome, and served as a director of visuals for Xbox Publishing at Microsoft, right? That's the way that fits together. Helped push boundaries of real-time graphics and storytelling there. Today, Habib is the head of virtual production at USC's School of Cinematic Arts, holding the George Méliès Endowed Chair in Visual Effects. Did I pronounce that okay?
Yeah.
Habib, okay, good. He is a founding member of the Visual Effects Society and a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. And last but not least, he actually currently features in the latest season of Disney's Light and Magic, which you can see on Disney Plus. And you can see him there in episodes 1 and 2. And this, I mentioned this because I haven't seen it yet, but it did inspire my team to really sort of how it informed it informs the way I'm going to ask questions today. So I really would urge you to see it. Apparently, it's great, and I'm going to do the same thing right after this webinar.
Yeah, it's a season 2. The season 1 is the original Star Wars, and then the second season is when ILM went digital. Yeah.
What year did you start, and where did you start? I think it was early 90s. And what was it? Industrial Light and Magic you started with? Was that your first stop?
I started actually independently in 1990 on an indie film.
Okay.
And I had to learn everything, from scratch, because I knew it was possible, having watched The Abyss and what ILM was doing. So it's kind of like reinventing it on computers back then in 1990. But then I worked at Mr. Film on IMAX movies and stereo. And then 1993, I got to go to ILM, which was amazing. Yeah.
How comfortable were you with, like, would you call it 3D workflows at the time? Would you call it CGI? What was the sort of the terminology you would kick around?
Yeah, it was very early days. CG wasn't a thing in visual effects. It wasn't. It was something that ILM had just pulled off on a few films. There was no terminology back then. We were just saying, we're going to use computers for the visual effects, and then the term computer graphics imagery came around. And then I think we have I was the 34th hire at ILM on the digital side, and I guess I get to vote on this poll too, right?
No, you don't need to vote on that poll. That's okay. Okay. So so what drew you into that world then at that point? Was it just simply the job opportunity, or how did you become aware of that opportunity at ILM, and what drew you into it?
Yeah, I think, many people were really inspired when they saw Star Wars. It just, blew their mind visually. And I actually know that it came from ILM until later. My Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, my computer graphic instructor there, told us about it. And, there was some opportunities. And I'd seen Jurassic Park, and I think that was the real turning point after that, was to see these fully realistic dinosaurs, and to me it was like the whole world of CG and visual effects was an incredible way to bring film and technology and art all together. And I always believed you can be technical and artistic at the same time. Something I dealt with going through university. I was an artist, I was a fine artist, but I took engineering as a challenge because I wanted to be a better designer. And every step of the way, I was fighting the system because you couldn't do you weren't allowed to really do both. Yeah. And I think visual effects and using computers was the kind of perfect hybrid of those things.
So we're going to get into sort of the more perhaps even then difficult parts of embracing new technologies. But just before I do that, you work with directors like George Lucas, Jan de Bont, Denis Villeneuve, and Steven Spielberg, right? Are there specific filmmaking techniques or approaches that you can sort of attribute to those four directors? Or you don't have to like go through all of them, but is there anything that you would want to highlight now, looking back to that period of time, and sort of say, with those directors, that's what we worked on.
Yeah, definitely. I've been super lucky to be able to work with those directors, and each one of them has incredible talent and a different approach. So what was super interesting was, for example, when I was working with Spielberg, he believed in doing the camera work while the performance is happening. If it's a virtual, in this case it was Tintin. I was watching him work, and basically, the other camp is you do all your performance and then you do your camera coverage, which is what I believed at the time. But when I was watching him work, he was shooting a scene where Tintin and Captain Haddock are looking over this bridge, and he filmed them from behind looking down, and they did a take, and then he filmed them from the water looking up at them, and he had to have them change their performance because from below they needed to lean over more. And so after he did that take, he came and he's like, you see how you have to change the performance? I'm like, yeah, you're right. So that's his particular side. I know Robert Zemeckis does performances, then does the coverage. Cameron used to do that, and that's partially because at the time in Avatar 1 you couldn't do the live camera work at the same time because of lag, so he had to do it later after the capture. But working with Denis on Blade Runner, he's incredibly decisive. He knows exactly what he wants, and he believes in simplicity. So it's a lot about paring things down to their core. And we were able to use a VCam for him to actually create some of the shots that went into the film.
When was this? What year was that roughly?
That was 2017. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on Blade Runner. Yeah.
Okay.
Blade Runner 2049. He'd come off of Arrival, and it's Blade Runner was an incredibly heavy technical visual effects film.
Well, let's look at that actually. So because I want to, as I was promising earlier, we want to analogize to what's going on in the modern world. There's a lot of conversation around AI filmmaking, and in fact, we got the poll results here that Alice just published. 74% of the people here in attendance at this webinar are interested in AI filmmaking tools, and 26% want to hear about behind the scenes Hollywood magic. I don't know whether that poll was binary. I think it was binary. You could only choose one, so that's
all right. No, they kind of relate to each other, but yeah, we can definitely.
So how did you? How much fear was there? Maybe fear is the wrong word. I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but was there apprehension? Was there concern amongst live action filmmakers that you encountered at the time, given what they were facing in terms of the new technologies that were coming into pre-production, production, and post-production back then in the 90s?
Yeah, some directors were much more open to visual effects and CGI, and other directors were very hesitant. The ones that weren't familiar with it, we had to train on what it is and how to harness it, and what the process looks like, so that if we showed them a gray animatic, like a basic animation of the first take, they don't freak out and think that's the final, because there's the whole process of when you do your and later on previs became a thing. It wasn't titled as such, but when Star Wars Episode 1 and Perfect Storm, we started doing all these basic filming with very crude looking scenes.
What was that previs came into action?
I think in 1998 on Star Wars Episode 1, I mean, doing animatics and basic CG camera work goes way back, but it kind of really became a thing on Episode 1 because so much of the film was digital,
And how did people react to? So was there a need to get people to make people feel comfortable? And you were mentioning directors specifically. All right, that's one person. But was there a broader population of people who worked in the industry and maybe been in it for decades, or longer or shorter, but who felt like, I don't know what this means for me in my career?
There were crew on there were ILM crew that were basically on the practical side, coming off of all the practical work that ILM was doing before all the digital, and a lot of them were like optical compositors. So they were used to running these giant machines to do multi passes of these film layers to get composite, and that's how you did compositing. And many of them were able to do the transition to CG by learning the basic tools and step by step being able to learn CG. And some of them it was more difficult for them, or they just didn't want to do that transition. And that's, I think we're kind of in the same place now with AI. And the only difference is it's moving much faster. I think if we could show image one, Alice is behind the scenes. That's basically what I was mentioning about doing the pre-visualization on episode one. Or I could share my screen. Is that better?
Oh yeah, sure. You can absolutely share your screen. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't get that hint.
Oh, there you go. They have it. So yeah, basically, this was the pod crash scene on episode one, and what was innovative was we did the whole simulation in one take, basically like as one simulation. And then we put the cameras where they would go to catch the scene. And that's what those cones are. And typically before that, every single shot would be kind of done from scratch. And so you would end up with potential discontinuities and things like that. But this process just started getting more and more refined. This was back in Maya and using rigid bodies.
I was just about to say that was Maya and rigid bodies.
Yeah. Okay. This was Maya beta. Maya hadn't officially released, but we used it for the film.
Okay.
We pushed it to the max for sure.
So let me just see here. I'm just going to try and be disciplined about time here. I think we have a bit of time here. So how do you think about the game engine revolution? If I can start you up there before we move into AI specifically, because I think game engines were have been, still are, of course, incredibly instrumental. And I think most people here in this audience who are attending today will have worked with game engines in some shape or another. Do you want to talk about the ability to work in real time, especially with Unity and Unreal, and what did that change in filmmaking?
Yeah, so prior to real time, I was working at ILM, and in the traditional CG way, where the rendering that you had to do to get your image took about an hour to 5 hours to 10 hours for one image, and we had to basically, if we're iterating and trying to make something look better, we could grab a tiny window and just render that part of it to get to see things quickly. And you can imagine if you're doing a shot that's 5 seconds, you'll never see that in motion unless you run all the processors overnight and come back the next day and hope that nothing crashed, and then you get to see the shot. And if you imagine you have 3 weeks to do a shot, that's how many days you're gonna see it in motion. That's it. And if you have an hour to render a frame, you get 8 guesses during the day.
Yeah.
To make tweaks. When I went from ILM to EA in 2003, that's when it kind of really dawned on me, real time really has to be the future. And I could see the trend of game engines and how the quality was getting better. At that time, we were on PlayStation 2s, 32 megs of memory.
Yeah.
Xbox 360, we got 512 megs, and then Xbox One, we got 8 gigs.
When did that transition really happen? When the game engines become a real topic and people said, we got to embrace this?
There were a lot of high-end games that would come out, CryEngine games, Crytek working on things. And you could see Call of Duty just pushing the bar, and those cutscenes looking more and more realistic, and people actually doing cutscenes live in real time, and facial scanning and facial mocap. We did a lot of innovations on Rise, Son of Rome for that type of work. And I think that was to me the light bulb going off that this is what real-time cinematography and real-time rendering and shading is what needs to be applied to film. So when I went from EA to Microsoft in 2010, they said, we need your help to work with Hollywood. And I said, I have an idea. Let's make game engines for film. And that was the beginning of the tool. Ultimately ended up being used by Jon Favreau and Spielberg. And the difference that game engines are making is now you're not waiting 4 weeks to iterate on your lighting. You're doing it on the spot, because as soon as something's interactive and you're dialing it, then you're able to nail a look immediately. So lighting an entire scene happens in an afternoon. It's not 6 months, and one person can do it. So this is a massive shift, and I thought the real-time revolution was incredibly fast, and people, I'm still telling people about that and getting on board that. And now at the same time, you have AI kicking in. So it gets even more confusing. Now you have an incredible mix of things happening. And then you have, things that you can make in a game engine and then give it to AI to enhance it. It's just moving so fast.
So I think this is a great segue into, I think, what everybody wants to hear us talk about, and you will want to hear you talk about it.
Yeah.
On the AI side today, which is essentially, analogous to at least two big revolutions you've seen at ILM in the 90s, and then the game engine revolution maybe over the last, I would say 10, 15 years. Is that fair? On the
Not even. I mean, I would say, basically about 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's say, now let's look at the AI side. That I feel like that started this morning, 2 minutes ago, right? And it sucks up all the oxygen, right? And I think for many good reasons. It's incredibly interesting. So
yeah,
I want to ask you the question that I also asked Ellen McKay. And this is a hard one because sometimes I want to say this, publicly to everyone, like it's hard sometimes to speak about AI, especially with people who are directly affected by it. And I think we can acknowledge that it affects a lot of people, professionally, financially, emotionally, but it's there. And so I just want to ask the question directly: what kind of tools on the AI side are you currently seeing being used? What stages of pre-production, production, and post-production? Is there a meaningful way for you to break this down? And I know this is probably such a broad area that you could go on for half an hour, but in the interest of time, can you sort of point to a few tools that you think are already making an impact and that you think everybody needs to be aware of?
Yeah, I divide it into two categories. So to me, there's AI tools that are basically enhancing artists' capabilities. They're able to work better, work faster, and bring their creativity and control over what they're trying to do in a faster way. And then there's the other side, which is the fully generative video, where you're just going from prompt to screen and something's being created. A lot of people trying to use those things get very frustrated because the control isn't really there. But they're working on trying to get there. But to me, I'm really interested in the tools that help the artists and keep the creativity at the core. I think RADiCAL is a great example of AI mocap. Seriously, AI mocap is a great use of AI, because now you're using a tool. I can generate a scene here in my office, right? I don't need to go book a stage and calibrate cameras. I'm waiting for someone to write AI tools for skinning and rigging. That's a character.
I think everybody's waiting for the AI that does automatic
UV
high
mapping,
quality skinning emission.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They're really tough stuff, right? It shouldn't take a month to skin a character.
Yeah.
So And if you skin a character and you move the arm, it shouldn't pull the thigh, which still happens, right? And you have a lot of tools that can help you visualize things. One of the things I'm trying out is a tool that takes a sketch and renders it. So previously I'd have to model that thing and light it, UV map it, texture it, then render it, and get the image. I'm going from sketch to final render, and I'm able to specify what kind of material. So that's a really interesting speed up of the design process for me. And I've been exploring that and to understand what do these AI tools mean for artists, right? It's still my sketch, it's my drawing, and it's my design, but it's enhancing what I'm able to do, and I can be more creative. And I think that's where people really need to make that divide. And it is terrifying. It's very easy to be terrified, for sure. I was terrified. When you dive in and see what the tools can do, then it's a lot easier to understand how to harness it. And a friend of mine would say, AI isn't going to replace people. People using AI are going to replace people. So it reminds me of the early CG days at ILM, and as incredible as the optical printer was, we had to do that transition to be able to composite digitally. I think visual effects is going to have a revolution because, if you can do final quality roto with AI, which isn't quite there yet, but they're working on it. Things like rig removals. You can already mess with some of these tools within Adobe's suite of things, removing things using Premiere or the AI roto in After Effects. These are like tools that help artists to be able to do, speed up the work that they have to do. And I think you also have, in terms of like pure generative AI, you have like, the ones that are harnessing it ethically. For example, Adobe getting their own content, right? They're creating their own content and it's not taking from someone else. I think that it's a bit of a Wild West now, but I think it's going to settle in where if images are used from someone, they get the reward, they get the monetary portion of the rights for their images, and that's what's interesting. AI knows exactly what it pulled from, the machine learning. In terms of like creating environments, there's really interesting tools that are there, and
what are those? I'm sorry. I think people might actually be interested in like knowing what they are specifically. If I don't know if you have references to hand by any chance.
Of which ones?
So, for example, the tool you referenced Adobe, that was super helpful, I think. For example, in After Effects, right?
Yeah.
You just referenced. Talked about environment generation or generative environment.
Yes. So there's Blockade Labs.
Yes, Blockade Labs.
It's interesting because you can draw. It's another example. You draw the sketch around you in 360, and then you tell it what you want to fill it in with and what style. And their training comes from their own content. They trained it themselves so that it's all taken from their own content, and then you're able to export that as a 3D mesh and use it on your on your LED volume if you want, or in your game. Kubrick is another one. That one's more 2.5D, but I think they're getting into some meshes and depths. And then I think we actually have an AI course on AI filmmaking at USC. It started last year, and it's been really, really incredible to see what students can make. And you have that argument of like, what would they have done if they didn't have this tool, right? Could they have afforded to scuba dive 100 feet down and have, you know, 100 people below water, you know, to make their story, right? There's like there's feasibility and things like that. So I think it's definitely more democratizing. More people can have access to things, and more people express their ideas. So the question is, you know, how big is the appetite of audiences for more content, right?
Well, that's actually a good segue,
limitless.
because we've been receiving. So Alice here has been collecting questions, and she forwarded them to me. So I have them here. I think she selected 4. I'm going to read all of them very quickly. In the interest of time, we're going to try and maybe you can answer them together, but we're going to try and get through them in the next literally 3 or 4 minutes. And I want to be clear. I want to be fair toward the person, the people that asked the question. There's no way this is ever going to be enough. Some of these questions are very profound. So I'm going to raise them now. Number 1, which are the advantages and disadvantages of making films using any AI tool / technique? Before you answer it, I'm going to give you the second, third, and fourth questions. Second, could we have a complete Hollywood film made entirely with generative AI? Entirely equals from pre-production to post-production. 3, could a Hollywood film be created entirely in a game engine? I think there's actually an example of that. So the answer is definitely yes. So, and number 4, what is the difference between AI filmmaking and simulation? If you don't remember question number 1, that's perfectly fine. I'm just going to remind you, which are the advantages and disadvantages of making films using any AI tool and technique? You can combine these questions if you want, or answer them in any sequence.
Yeah, so the first question, you know, things are moving super fast. So whenever anyone tells me, well, AI can't do X, you know, the answer is wait a few weeks. But currently, where I feel AI is really good for is creating pitches, creating visualizations, creating content that you can use to try and sell your film. Those have taken a huge leap. Or directors that are doing pitches for commercials, they can walk in with a nearly completely finished commercial looking thing, right? The downside is the level of control. You know, you're gonna get something, and then, you know, depending on how hardcore you are to detail, or like, I really wanted that light to be this way, and I really wanted the arm to be here and not here, and, you know, those are the things that'll drive you crazy. But in terms of just, you know, putting an idea out and seeing how the story is looking for yourself, or to pitch it, that's taken a big leap, you know. I think, you know, and there is an example of, to get into the second question, there's an example of, you know, high-end content now, short films that are made entirely with AI. If anybody's seen a short film called Echo Hunters, that's the first AI film that was made in collaboration with SAG.
Okay.
So they basically cast the actors through SAG, and they used the actors to train the AI, and then it was the actors' performances that were, you know, basically I think of it as a kind of renderer, you know.
Yeah.
It's like this magic renderer that you don't need to make a 3D model for. But I think that's, you know, that's the super interesting direction of where things are headed. So yes, it would be possible to get a full Hollywood film completed with AI. The interesting part is with the audiences. How would the audiences react? Yeah.
Which is great. We just got a number 5. It was a follow-up. Somebody complimented you on actually questioning, or just at least raising the question of whether there's sufficient appetite. With the streaming wars over, I'm quoting now, this is not me, is there appetite for the deluge of content that could be coming with AI?
Yeah, you know, we're gonna see, but I think there is.
You think there is? Okay.
You know, like, to put things in context, the visual effects artist world is a few 100,000 people. You know, and the planet population is, you know, I don't know what we're hitting, how many billions, but you know, what would it mean if 1 out of 3 people could make a film? I don't know.
Well, I suppose one answer is that it's just a competition of good ideas and creativity. What's wrong with that?
Yes, and as usual, everything goes back to good story, right?
That's exactly right. All right, so I think we're coming up on just 20 minutes to go. I'm going to make a quick, please continue to ask questions. We will potentially have a few more minutes at the end of this, and also questions about what you're about to see. So Habib joined about a year ago, and we specifically were very interested in learning from Habib about cinematography, virtual cinematography. As you'll see in just a moment, the way we use AI is that it powers our real-time motion capture system, which we will also be demoing, but there is no AI in here yet. I will just say one thing and not mention it again today. We are, in fact, at RADiCAL working on making RADiCAL Canvas a full control net and world model to feed and control a more precise way of generating AI, video with AI models. So that's not out yet. That's not in production. But what you're about to see certainly will help filmmakers gain that control. So I think, am I sharing my screen yet? No, I'm not. Okay, I'm going to do that now. Okay, I'm going to set up this demo very quickly and then hand over to Habib to show you what kind of features we've built around cinematography specifically. I'm just going to give a 30-second intro to what you're about to see, or what you're seeing now. This is all in the browser. So one of the things we pride ourselves in is that we're rebuilding 3D workflows in the browser. Sometimes we refer to ourselves as the Canva for 3D or the Figma for 3D. Sometimes it's Google Docs for 3D. The reason we do that is because it has to be easy. It has to be real-time and collaborative, all in the browser. So think of like entering a Google Docs file and then working on it together. So for example, over here, if I wanted to bring in an asset, right, I would just literally drag and drop it into the scene. This one happens to have been scaled badly, but for anyone who is in the scene, they can then see this sort of, see the changes in the scene being made in real time. I'm just going to get rid of this already. Now, this scene has been pre-prepared, of course, just like a cooking show, effectively. I wanted to do that because otherwise we can't fit it into the time that we have left. But essentially in here, you have a bunch of assets, 3D assets that all were done this way. You can just drag and drop it in and everybody can do this. We, in fact, did this yesterday. I think it took us 30 minutes for Habib and I to create the scene. And there you go. I think I'll leave it here. I've probably forgotten to mention something really important. Alice is going to let me know if I did. But I'm going to hand over to Habib now. So I think if you just take over my screen share.
So I'll just drop into that scene, right?
Great. Yep.
And so to me, the purpose of the reason I'm excited.
Are you sharing the screen now? Sorry, are you?
I am now. Let's see. Here we go.
I think you are now. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And this is going to be a bit pixelated. My apologies to everyone, but it should get better if you just let it settle in.
It'll settle.
Put them in a minute. Yeah.
So, to me, when I was creating the tools for Jungle Book and Ready Player One, the most important thing was collaboration. I wanted to have it be what we built, the team at the time that was at Microsoft. We built this tool on top of Unity at the time, basically, so any number of artists could work on the same scene. And that really got put to use on Ready Player One, where Steven could, he could ask for 10 things and get them simultaneously. So when I heard the collaboration mode, especially online remote, for RADiCAL, then that was super exciting. And at the time, Canvas was new, and just early days of putting cameras in. So what's here now is very early, but very, very cool ability to put cameras in. I can go through, let's say, a camera here. Once I select the camera, I can also basically turn off the visual helpers and see. You can see here, camera. There's not an order 1, 3, 2, and if I look at these clips, this is when the camera cuts happen. So you can actually have cameras that you animate and keyframe, and then you can cut between them. So right now I'm only looking through camera 1, so it didn't do a cut. But you know, I think the ideal tool for directors is something that they can jump in and compose things. So I can say, I want to start over here instead. And then super easily be able to iterate on what they're doing. So if I go to this second position, I can maybe adjust it so it's looking back. There we go. Maybe a little higher. And then let's jump into the second cut, which is this camera right here. And I'm gonna maybe position that to look further down. So you can have as many people as you want, and you guys get to join in this one later. Then imagine the creativity that can happen when everybody can contribute. So let's look at what we have here. I'm going to play the scene from this camera point of view just to see what we have. So we have this spaceship coming in. These were keyframed beforehand. And I think let's do this. Kevin, you want to do mocap for these guys?
Yeah, I'm already warming it up. It's going to be,
Yeah.
I'll be there in about half a minute or so.
Let's get some action for these bystanders, and then I think I'll just move that motorcycle.
Just one thing I would maybe ask you to do, well, if you could talk a little bit about lens selection, sensor size,
Yes,
and crop
exactly.
factor. I think that's important. So you make that
Perfect.
selection. And then I'll be ready with the mocap once you're done with that.
So yeah, perfect. Perfect point. So I'm on this camera here, and you can see the keyframes. You can do all in betweens, but you know, I've been an advisor to RADiCAL for this part of the tools, so it's really fun and exciting for me. You have your selection of lenses here. You choose your film back size. We like the 65 Alexa here, and then you also have your aspect ratios, which is, you know, you can see it's masked over there. Let's maybe go with a longer lens. There we go. You know, and a lot of previs houses use those. You know, each DP has their own set of standard lenses that they like. You know, we were using specific lenses on Blade Runner for Roger Deakins. It'll change depending on the director and DP. But yeah, we have a few select ones here. So what I'll do is I'm going to keyframe the ship to land, and then let's get into your mocap.
Perfect. I'm also
in 10
already
minutes.
live mocapping right now.
You're already there.
I'm
Cool.
in the scene, yeah, but I think you should probably go ahead with what you wanted to do.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take the ship and lower it so that it's kind of landing. There we go. Yep. So I have the ship landing. Let's do your mocap now. So
I'm here. If you maybe go into the view.
hey, there you are. Okay, so I'm gonna hit play, and then I'm gonna want you to react to the ship. Okay, I'll direct you.
Okay,
all right.
Give me one sec. I think is there a camera that I can use that points at the ship? I think there is. So give me 1 second.
Yeah, you can look at camera 2. I think I'm on camera.
No, I think there's one that's named after me. So I'm gonna use that one. So good.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one's good. You ready?
Yep.
Recording? Are you recording?
Not yet. Sorry, my apologies.
Okay.
My apologies.
Get into position.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So get into position. I'm gonna hit play when you're ready.
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. I'm hitting play. There you go. So the ship's coming on your right. Look to your right. Look up a little bit more. Yeah, you're pointing at it. Now it's landing. And look to your right, to your friend, and look around, because you're like, you know, can anybody believe this? There you go. That's awesome. All right, cut. That's good. Now let's do another take for, that would be the guy on that you were kind of the guy who's on the left. Now you're going to be the guy on the right, yeah?
Okay.
And then I want you to walk back into the room and walk towards the camera, so you're basically walking forward in the sidewalk. Ready?
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Okay.
Count
Recording.
down. 3,
Okay,
2,
say
1.
when.
3, 2, 1.
All right.
Boom.
Play. Okay, so walk forward. Yeah, walk forward. And look at the ship. And then look to your left. Look to your buddy on the left. And you're like, can you believe this? And look at the ship. Perfect. Awesome. All right, cut. There we go. Let's drop those in.
All
And then
right,
we
so
can
let
do
me
final camera
apply
work.
those.
Yeah. You apply those. I'm going to put the camera in position, and then
Yeah, I can reclaim the screen share very quickly so people can see how
Oh, yeah,
I'm applying
yeah.
it if you want.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen here. To be honest, so to be clear, I'm only sharing my screen. It's only necessary really because we're obviously want the audience to see what we're doing. But actually inside RADiCAL, Habib.
Someone is asking if you're in the same building. No, Gavin is in UK and I'm in LA.
Okay, I should specify that as well. Yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm gonna apply motion to this guy here. Let's hope I'm gonna find the correct ones. So this is the second one I recorded, the last one. So the character on the right, from my standpoint, should have the first or the second clip.
You
Here,
already applied them, right? Yeah.
I have not. I'm just going to apply the second clip now.
Okay, great.
I'll let you know when it's done.
Question is, how many actors can you mock up at the same time? Have we ever?
One per.
10?
The quick answer is one per camera.
One per camera, but we've never tried a maximum in the same scene. Theoretically unlimited. Yeah. Let's see. All right.
Almost done.
Video panel. So yours is loading. So while you're doing that, I'm going to move the motorcycle to be in front of them, like that, because I want to do like a camera angle from behind.
Okay, both motion clips are now applied. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim them so we get like the first ugly bits out there, like where I'm like,
yeah, perfect,
leaning forward.
Perfect.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
with both
I'm watching you work. Yeah.
And now you should see those clips on the timeline, I hope. So if you scroll
Yeah,
up.
I do. I see you moving them. Yeah, I do.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I see you trimming them. Great. And then I'm going to get into my third camera position. We have 5 minutes, just enough time to...
Yeah, we're going to try and squeeze it into...
To do the VCam.
I would love to show the VCam, yeah. If we can do it.
Yes, and we want the audience to be able to jump in.
So we're going to try and do all of that in the next 5 minutes. We're probably going to run over slightly, but in the meantime, I'm going to see if there are questions we can answer. But until I have those, I'll just explain very quickly. So VCam means, of course, that you can use your phone to pilot a camera. This is actually something that not only Habib requested, it was quite a few other people that we've worked with who've asked for that ability. And that's because cinematographers feel strongly about having a physical object.
Depth of field.
Exactly. So now VCam works in the following way. There's I think you need to switch to VCam through the drop-down menu. If I could ask you to do that.
Yeah,
Habib.
I'm just keyframing that last camera.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So then we'll do the VCam in just a moment. So the way that will work is that you just need an iPhone or an Android on the same network as the machine that you're in the same room with, essentially. And then we're going to show you in just a moment what that looks like.
So I'm going to look at the camera track. So we're going to get to see all shots back to back.
Amazing. Maybe you close the design tab there on the right.
Oh yeah, sorry.
There goes. Yep.
So you can add depth of field. You could do lighting, mocap, cameras. It's really nice to like get exactly what you want, and be able to manipulate things. So that was cool to see the performances here. And then at the same time, I'm going to viewport to move this van. I can ask you to move the van closer to the right,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Sure.
You can move that for me.
Where do you want
And then I'm gonna
where do
get
you
the
want it?
VCam ready.
Where do you want where do you want the van?
Move the van more to the right, so it's closer to those people.
Cool. Give me 1 second.
And then I'm going to get the VCam going. So when
Where do you want the van? Just around here?
right there, yeah, right there.
Great.
So kudos to the Canvas team for doing some amazing stuff super fast. I was blown away when I tried the VCam for the first time because I couldn't believe it was that easy to actually use it. So I'm gonna maybe go to VCam here, and you can see on my screen it says VCam scan on your mobile phone. So literally, I go to my camera. I haven't installed anything on my phone.
You just open the
just tap
camera
on it.
app. Yeah.
I just tapped on that QR code. There we go.
So, by the way, for the audience, there are a lot of questions coming through. I see them, and I will try to raise them all for those of you who
Here we are.
decide to stay. There
So
you
we
go.
have-
That's VCam. So, actually, if you hit play now, I would really love to see that as
Yeah.
well. So you can play
I'm
the
gonna hit
scene back
play.
at the same time.
So I'm gonna hit play, and you see I already have depth of field kind of put on here. So I'm looking at this ship coming in. I see these people in the foreground. I missed the airplane. So let me try again.
I know there's this casual North Korean jet fighter that sort of comes through. Yeah.
So we're standing here. We suddenly notice there's a ship. Where's the fighter? There is a fighter.
There it is. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sense any lag at all, which is crazy. And here I am. I could be right now. Recording isn't ready yet, but very soon.
Yeah,
Be
we're
able to
going to
record
introduce recording, VCam, stabilization,
Yeah.
motion scaling, and a bunch of other things. Okay, I want to be.
Let's have the audience jump in.
Yeah, what do we want to do first? Do we want to invite the audience into the scene so they can start messing around?
I think so.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and then I'm going to at the same time read the questions back to you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, awesome. So I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to
observe from
share
here.
the link. Now, I need to make sure that everybody sees it. Hosts and panelists.
I think you may be able to message everyone host everyone. I can share it.
You can. Okay, so you can do it. Okay.
Oh,
By the way, so the image is obviously on my phone of what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So I
okay.
can be able to.
For some reason it's not letting me paste. If someone asks me a question, I will answer the question with the link. How about that?
Okay, so have we now published the link to everyone?
Where's the link?
Alice?
Yep, just
Oh.
sorry, I'm quadruple tasking. Thank you everyone for saving me, asking me questions. I'm answering all of you with the link.
Oh, is it in the answered section?
Yes, so if you can't find it, it's in the Q&A answered section.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, in the answered section of Q&A.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start reading questions back. Habib, you don't have to run the VCAM. If you don't,
I
if you
love
go,
doing it.
okay. Okay.
Try and stop me. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I'll read back the questions. Okay. Can we do all our previs work in Canvas and then export to Unreal Engine for my stage shoot? Not yet, but this is the question we get all the time. So the answer is we obviously will have to work on that. What we would love to know is,
You can export the mocap as
well, you can
FDX.
already live stream the motion capture into Unreal Engine, Unity, and anything you want, but the scene itself is still going to be just in RADiCAL. Now, the question is, how do we get it over there? And actually, I'll be really curious what people would prefer. Is it FBX? Is it USD? Is it some other form of exporting it? I suspect I know the answer, but I would love to know from people. And we're going to work on that. And yes, later this year, hopefully, is the answer. Number two, could you say how previs changes the dialogue between above the line discussions? That's a question for you, Habib. Could you say how previs changes the dialogue between above the line discussions?
Yeah, so, like I said before about doing CG visual effects, that was always a education process for a lot of directors and executives. And I think it's pretty established why previs helps, and then now with the new tools that are easy to use like this one, you can have the director and DP be directly involved with artists, be able to contribute, and really join the process, because that's what it's about. It's about them being able to express that. For example, hey, someone's moving the motorcycle. When we worked with Joe Penna on Stowaway, he was able to learn the tools and start doing the visualizations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a big turning point, where we could see that affecting the end result. This is what's important. Like when Denis was able to use virtual camera tools to do a shot, he actually, by interacting with the shot, understood that what he wanted wasn't possible physically. So it changed the outcome.
So
the spinner path changed. And it's the same thing. I think the above the line interacting with things, it's going to give them knowledge and ideas that they haven't thought about, and it's going to inform them more.
And is Denis Villeneuve, was he already at that time like very pro new technology, or was that a new experience for him at that time when he made
it was newish. He'd done visual effects work on Arrival, but Blade Runner was a whole nother level.
This connects beautifully into another question that an audience member has asked, and specifically I think this is about directors. Sorry, bear with me. I saw it in here somewhere. How do directors appreciate previs? What does it afford them? What benefits does RADiCAL provide, I suppose, to help this? So I guess this is sort of multiple questions in one, but it's sort of one that you touched on just now with Villeneuve, right? So what?
Yeah. So
how
someone
does
has
this help the
Eiffel
director?
Tower. I love it.
There you go.
So,
Eiffel Tower.
That's awesome. Basically, what previs does is the director, DP, visual effects supervisor, producers, they're all able to try to create the scene they have in mind, and it catches mistakes or gives new ideas early. So had they not, for example, tried to do the interaction, we weren't able to get any believable animation in that scene, and specifically, someone's got a lot of fog going here. So basically, it's a much easier, more affordable way to try your filming and storytelling, and then by seeing the results, first of all, if your ideas were good or not, if it's going to work or not. Second of all, it's going to give you more ideas, and it's going to basically help push your creativity, and you're not going to make you know, you're not going to go on set at $100,000 a day and find out, you know, this, you know, there's an Eiffel Tower where you wanted to actually shoot.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much, all the directors I worked with, especially doing virtual cinematography, they've developed a new language as they've been working on it. Is that a drone? Cool. Oh no, it's a Dune helicopter.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Helicopter. So these are the things that you know, you can quickly make a scene, you know, quickly try it, and then that lets you know, okay, I'm on the right track, this is what I had in mind, or actually we're completely on the wrong side of the street, we should be on the other side of the street, and the spaceship shouldn't be in the middle, it should be over there. All of these things are so quick and easy to adjust in this phase. That's what previs is for.
Yeah.
It's not for just making a printout of your idea. It's for you to interact with something and then iterate and improve it and change it.
So my apologies for interrupting you. I have two more questions that came in, and I would just want to throw both of them at you. And I'm now very aware that we're over time. So thank you for those of you who are still, you know, sticking around to have those answered. But now I'm just going to get those two questions answered, and then we're going to wrap up. I think Alex.
Yeah, just to answer that last question is
Absolutely.
you know,
I'll raise those now. Just so you know, for those of you who have to drop off, I think we're going to send out an email afterwards with all the questions and answers as well. Okay, so number one,
the above the line, you know, having this accessibility doesn't hurt people below the line.
So I think we need to repeat the question because the audience can't see it. So I've seen that democratization often leads to more above the line control of creative.
Yeah.
The question is, does that help produce better movies, or just movies more in line with executives' dream of being a filmmaker? I hope I made the right emphasis.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So the above the line people are gonna need the artists always. Every time there was some innovation in visual effects, it led to needing more people. So, you know, when a mocap came, we needed more animators. When the chrome ball lighting came, more TDs could do more shots. You know, it just goes on and on. And so with these tools, it just means that the above the line people are gonna know more precisely what they want. So they're gonna hopefully make less changes later, make life easier for all the artists. But it's not gonna mean they're not gonna need artists. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there's one more question, and then we're going to wrap up. Where in the line of business do studios decide to use motion capture for previs? What tips can you provide that we as a community can use to get this to work? I get this is motion capture, I guess. Habib, do you have can you help on that?
Can you, yeah.
So where, at what point, where in the
part?
line of business do studios decide to use motion capture for previs?
Oh, that's typically up to either the previs house or the visual effects supervisor working on the project. Then, you know, if they have a lot of characters that they want to choreograph, it makes sense to use mocap as opposed to have someone keyframe animate, just because of the speed of iteration. And what I like, you know, there's a ton of libraries of motions, but what I like is motion capturing exactly what I need with the timing I need, and I'm done. Yeah.
You just gotta learn to count down and synchronicity, I suppose. Okay, I think we'll probably have to wrap up. I
love this scene, by the way. Thanks everybody.
I love this scene, and thank you, Habib, so much for your time. This is genuinely a real highlight of the year already, that you were able to set aside time for us to do this. Thank you to everyone who joined in. Whatever shortcomings there were today, and like making sure that we're in the 1 hour, please, that's my fault. And we'll try to do better next time. We'll try to make this more entertaining. We'll have more webinars like this come up. We'll always try to make this entertaining.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Gavin. Awesome. Thank you so much.